So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And, well, my guest today, super talented actress in the form of Jane Hazlegrove. How are you, Jane? Welcome along.
Oh, bless you. Thanks very much. It's nice to be here. I'm very well. I'm trying to avoid the weather because I'm in the north, but I think looking at the weather forecast, it's raining absolutely everywhere at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've kind of lost the summer now. I think it's fair to say autumn is fast approaching.
That's okay. Yeah.
But we can manage. It's fine.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
Now, what an amazing career you've had, and we will talk about some of your projects that you've worked on over the years. But for you, where did the love of acting, performing come from? Can you sort of remember your earliest memories and how it all started for you?
Yeah, I think I was quite a precocious little girl, and I was talking about it this morning with my mum actually. Um, Definitely an extrovert, but of course we didn't know that those words in the 70s. Well, us a lot didn't. And then I went to elocution lessons, and there was a mate of my mum's who had a daughter who spoke really nicely, and my mum wanted me to speak nicely. So I was sent to elocution lessons, and I used to go and see this woman like every week for an hour, and she basically taught me how to read, and she taught me about stories and storytelling, and then I started going in for various competitions. Um, with Lambda and things. So, and then kind of, I just loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And there was an amateur dramatics thing at the top shops near where I lived for adults. So I went along, and they do things like Gilbert and Sullivan and things like that. And I went along, and some of the adults didn't really like it that I'd gone. So from that, two brilliant young people in that company set up a youth theatre, and I started going to that and just loved it. I just loved telling stories. I just love hearing stories, um, and that's how it started.
I mean, do you remember the first time that you got up on stage and performed in front of an audience and the reaction you got? What was that like?
I don't know that I remember the first time. I remember doing Alice in Wonderland with the youth theatre, and that was fantastic. That was a real rush, a real buzz. But I just loved all of it. I just loved all the preparation. I loved people, because they made costumes. They had these brilliant seamstresses in our parish. It was a real community event, but I got to be star of the show. So I just loved it. Yeah, it was that's how it started, and that's sort of how it's continued, really. Not the star of the show, but just being able to act is an honor. It really is, and to be allowed to do it, because I'm sure, I've seen some of your podcasts, Matthew, and I'm sure, you've had actors talk about it's a tough old gig to do, and it isn't necessarily about the talent that you've got. It's about the lucky break and sustaining it. And I think I've been doing it since I was tiny. I've been a professional actor since I was 13. And so I sort of had the best of it. So there were shows like The Bill and Heartbeat and Casualty to a degree, where you could go as a young actor, not really be that good technically, but you'd be able to do a performance, and you'd learn so much from these gigs. So when you got onto being a little bit older, you had an air of professionalism about you, and yeah, you knew how a television floor worked. So I think it's quite different now for young actors. They don't they don't unfortunately have those places to go to, and it's very much learn on the job for kids now.
Now, one of the projects I had to talk about because I love the show and I found myself watching it a few years back again on repeat, during lockdown, was of course Dinnerladies, an
Uh,
amazing show that obviously, written and produced and everything by the lovely Victoria Wood. I mean, what was that like for you to work on that show? Because just talent upon talent upon talent, it was amazing.
it was amazing, and I couldn't believe that I got the job. I remember weirdly, I remember the interview. I remember going in to see Vic, and the director, a guy called Jeff Posner. I remember the day. I think I can remember what I was wearing. And then when they said I got it, I couldn't believe it. It was so exciting, and we rehearsed from the Monday up to the Thursday, because they did it in front of a live audience on the Friday and Saturday. So we rehearsed the Monday up to the Thursday. And I just remember being at the read through going, oh, okay, there's Victoria Wood, there's Julie Walters, there's Celia Emery, there's Dr. Preston, there's Sue Devaney, and Maxine Peake and Shobna, and just going, this is big. This is really big. So I was absolutely terrified. And Annie Reid, of course, whose daughter I played. It was brilliant. It was a wonderful experience.
I mean, of course, there was also, a few Corrie connections there because, you mentioned Sue Devaney. Also, Shobna Gulati, who obviously later went on to play Sunita on Coronation Street, another of Dev's partners. So there's a bit of a connection there. But I mean, did you ever realize kind of when you were a part of that show what it would go on to become? Even all these years later, people still talk about it and still watch it. Were you aware that was going to happen?
I knew that I was with the great and the good. I knew that I was in a room like I haven't been in. I've been in a few rooms like that where you just go, oh my word, this is, you're gonna have to up your game now, Jane. Pay attention, and watch and just soak it all up. I don't think I knew how big it was going to be, but then that was probably a bit naive of me. But I'm like that about most things, really. I'm usually just in the moment. And recording live in front of an audience as well. That was, I'd done that a couple of times on a couple of other sitcoms, but yeah, that was heart in mouth.
Now, obviously, we have to talk about Casualty because that was a huge part of your life. And I mean, we're talking 10 years you were on that show. I mean, playing a character like Trixie, what was that like? I mean, obviously, she was such a love, people loved her. What was it like being a part of the Casualty family for so long?
It was great. And I'm just going to pull you up there, Matthew. It was Dixie, not
Dixie.
Trixie.
Bad. That's my fault.
It's all right. It's allowed. Again, it was a fabulous time. We started off filming it in Bristol. That's where the show had been produced for I think about 20 years. And then I think I'd been there about 4 years, and they moved it over to Cardiff. Yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful time. I had some great fun on that. And it was hard work. It was really hard work. And yeah, I just sound like such an old dinosaur. When we were actually lifting people up to put them in the ambulance, because now they don't do that. They just press a button and up they go. We were physically doing that. Yeah, it was graft and driving the ambulance and just a really lovely team of actors. It was a very, very special time.
And I mean, obviously, playing a paramedic, did you learn anything along the way? Did you kind of, I mean, I know obviously you're not going to have learned open heart surgery or anything like that, but did you kind of learn things that you wouldn't have otherwise known about being a paramedic?
Yeah, because I'm actually quite squeamish. So, but that's sort of gone now. But in answer to your question, yes, there have been 2 occasions where I have had to step up and be sensible, and think like a paramedic might think. There was an incident where somebody fell into a fire at a party, and was wearing the dress, and the dress went up. And I knew exactly what to do with this woman, and I was so calm. I couldn't believe it. It was like I'd suddenly turned into Dixie again. But yeah, looked after this girl and got her in the shower and sorted her leg out. And then another occasion where I had to help somebody with CPR. So yeah, I learned quite a lot. Yeah, and it's paid off twice, thank goodness.
I mean, there's also a lot of like medical jargon that you have to learn. And I mean, did you find yourself going, I have no idea what I'm saying, but just go with it?
Constantly, all the time. But I'm like that now on Coronation Street, Matthew. Yeah. Those handovers are really tricky, really tricky. But you're surrounded with the real doctors and nurses, and they will just say you pronounce that completely wrong. But they take a bit of learning. I used to put up the ironing board on a Sunday in Bristol, and then I just stick the handovers on the wall, and then as I was ironing, I just learned them like that, because you have to get a rhythm thinking about, because they used to do them quite quickly. But yeah. Yeah, when I haven't watched the show for a long time, and I haven't watched myself in it for a long time, but when I think about those handovers, yeah, my heart rate's gone up. So thank you for that. Yeah, pulse has gone up.
I mean, obviously, when you decide, because was it your decision to eventually step away from the show, and how do you make a decision like that? Was it a hard one?
Yeah, it was extremely hard. It was extremely hard. But I kind of felt I was quite tired. And I kind of felt, the whole Jeff and Dixie with Jeff's death and everything, I kind of felt that had come to an end. And I didn't really think that I had enough stamina to keep doing what was required of me then. And I was still based. I wasn't living in Cardiff, so I was doing a massive commute every day. So it was extremely difficult, really difficult to say goodbye to her. But I did.
And they say that kind of things happen for a reason, and obviously, you pop back to Casualty for a bit in 2019, and then Corrie came along. I mean, talk about closing doors and all that kind of thing. How did that come about? I mean, what a character Bernie is.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, she's a piece of work, isn't she? I've moved. I left Casualty. I think I've been out of Casualty for a couple of years. And then my family and I, we went, where we're going to go. We wanted to relocate. We were still down in the southwest. And so we got a map and went like that and go, yeah, we still want to be able to work. And we'd never lived in the north before. So I wanted to come home, and I needed to come home for personal reasons. So home we came. And then I got myself a couple of theatre gigs up here. And then no, this was before. Sorry, Matthew, I'm just trying to do the timeline on this. I think so about 2 years before we moved back. Yeah, so we were still in Bristol. I got a phone call to audition for Corrie, and I was like, oh, I don't know that I don't know that I'm over Casualty yet, and it's going to be a big commitment. Anyway, I didn't get the part. So there we go. And then we moved back home. And then I did a couple of theatre gigs, and then home being the northwest. And then Corrie rang and said, you came in for that audition that you didn't get. I was like, yeah, okay. And they said, well, we've written you this part, and we'd like you to come and have a look. And I was like, okay, great. So yeah, in I went.
That must be really special when they not only, that they wanted you for this character. They were obviously desperate to have you. So that must be quite a nice feeling to know that they've done that especially for you.
Bless you. I love that for saying that they were desperate to have me. I'm not sure about that. That's a very sweet thing of you to say, Matthew. I don't know. It was, I think that the casting team had gone that I can be quite comedic, and Gemma's mum was on the table as far as the writers had, they'd concocted this character. And I think the brilliant Jane Radcliffe went, hang on a minute, because I do think there's a bit of a physical resemblance between myself and Dolly-Rose Campbell. I think, when the hair's up and all that, I do think we've both got little noses, and I think, yeah, I could be her mum. So I think they went ping. So great. And yeah, I was very chuffed, and I was very, very flattered that they'd remembered me.
I mean, how much were you told about the character at that point? What did they tell you about Bernie?
That she was Gemma's mum, and she was an ex-raver, and she had quite a checkered past, and wasn't particularly nice. She was always on the make, and that she'd abandoned the kids, I think when they were about 12 or something. So she hadn't been in their lives at all, and was quite selfish, and very little morals.
Now, obviously, one of the sort of the big storylines that you were involved in was, of course, the health issues of Peter May's character. I mean, what was that like to kind of see that transformation? I mean, what an amazing job he did in that. I mean, so what was it like, being a part of that storyline and getting the message out there?
Um, yeah, at first I was absolutely gutted because I really love working with Pete, and I was concerned about what that was going to do to the dynamic of Gemma and Paul. Um, and then Pete said that they were going to do it very slowly, and Paul was going to be diagnosed with motor neurone. And I knew of it, but I didn't really know about it. I had a girlfriend who had multiple sclerosis, so I knew a lot about that. But MND, no, it wasn't, and it doesn't happen to a 34-year-old man who's fit and healthy. And so brilliantly, the show did what it does so well, and massive support from Rob Burrow and Lindsay and the MND Association, who were hand in hand with the storyliners throughout. But I knew that Pete was going to be extraordinary because he's such a fabulous actor. Um, and I don't think the bosses could quite believe how beautifully he handled it. And it was heartbreaking because we all knew what was going to happen to Paul, but also that we were going to have to say goodbye to darling Pete. So, but it was an extraordinary thing to watch. And even now, I just kind of go, God, we did that. He did that. And Rob and Lindsay came down, and we were very much aware that Pete got to get out of that wheelchair every night and didn't have to use, I can't remember what it's called, the brilliant thing that he could speak through. And Pete learned how to use that himself with his eyes and everything. And but we were very much aware of the fact that this disease is so dreadful. So I'm very proud that Corrie highlighted it and continues to highlight it. And I think Dan and Pete, they were fully on board with the charities and everything. They were both extraordinary. And please God, we'll keep raising funds for it. So it was a real privilege to be part of. But yeah, it's just a disgusting disease. It's dreadful.
And I mean, the other great thing is, you're raising awareness. Such a beautiful performance by all involved. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, you don't do it for the awards, but also the fact, Peter got, I think, pretty much every award that he was nominated
Mhm.
for in that period. It must be quite nice when you get that recognition for doing an amazing job. And as I know quite a few actors say that they don't like getting too bogged down by it, but that must be such a nice feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I knew as soon as I sort of, because as soon as they said that they'd given it to Pete to do, I was like, yeah, they're smart upstairs. So yeah, absolutely right that it should be given, he should be given all the laudits, and that the story should as well. Yeah, it was a nice feeling.
Now, obviously, the other thing we've got to talk about is the partnership with Dev. And I mean, when that was mentioned to you that they were going to pair Bernie up with Dev, what was your thoughts? I mean, I think some people originally were a bit like, okay, interesting, but it just works so well.
Yeah, I got asked this a couple of weeks ago. When did they first get together? And I honestly can't remember. And I think there was a bit of flirtation. Oh, I don't know. She'd started flirting with him in the shop, and then I think that's how it escalated. But I honestly can't remember. Um, and then there was a Christmas market where they had a snog. Um, but it's great, and I love it that people go, "Oh, what would he be doing with her?" But they're together and they do really love each other. Um, and they are polar opposites on many subjects, but I think there's a real tenderness there. Um, and they get it. They've both been around the block a bit, and they've both made massive mistakes. Um, so yeah, it's great.
And it must
Bernie.
be fun as an actor because you get to kind of play a different side of your character, and you're always learning about them. And so, did you find it quite interesting to kind of see a different side to her as part of the the relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, I don't think she's ever had anybody before who's been so kind to her and so tender. So yeah, that was fun. That was fun for her to fall in love. And the wedding was fun. And yeah. And it's great that it's ridiculous. And long may it continue.
Now, I say Coronation Street is amazing for the comedy, and that's you must be a joy that you get to provide a lot of that comedy, obviously with help from the writers and everything. But I mean, do you like being that comic relief? Do you enjoy that as part of the show?
Yeah, but I don't, I don't see it like that at all. I just know that, I mean, she's up there, she's vibrant, and Corrie's great with all of those women. You think about Glenda, you think about Gemma, you think about Sally. All of these women are just, they're big characters, even if they're demure and quiet. You think about Mary, they've all got, and Corrie's always written brilliantly for middle-aged women, thank God, because I don't know where else we'd go at the moment, but don't get me going on that. So I know that they're going to write big lines, like they do for all those other women. They're going to write big lines, but I don't. And yes, sometimes I do chuckle out loud and go, "This is just, I can't actually believe what they've got me saying here." So it's a real privilege, and I do get a little tickle from it. Yeah.
Now, obviously, Corrie has such a big cast, and I mean, there are obviously going to be actors you don't get to work with much. But is there anyone on the show that you haven't really done much with before that you would love to get to do a storyline with or something going forward?
Oh gosh, right. I'm just trying to walk down the corridor now and see who's. Do you know? I've hardly had anything to do with Tyrone. Hardly anything to do with Tyrone and Fizz. I did a little bit with Fizz, I think, when Bernie had accused Hope of stealing some money or something. That was a few years ago. Everybody really, it's that's, and again, that's what's so fabulous about it. You can, I could be serving all kinds of people in Roy's roles, and the Rovers, you never know who you're going to be sat next to. But yeah, everybody. I'd like to have a little bit of fun with all of the actors. That sounds weird, but I know.
And I mean, obviously, Bernie is such an out there person, but if you were to meet her in real life, could you imagine, being friends with her? Do you think she's the sort of person you would hang out with?
No, I think I'd find her deeply irritating. I'd probably I'd probably like to go on a walk with her, and a walk that had a beginning and an end. So I could go my way, and Bernie could go her way up the high street. I think it'd be fun to go out with Bernie, but I think I would find her yeah, slightly irritating.
Now, I can't believe it's been 6 years that you've been on the show. That time has flown by. I mean, for you, are you very happy where you are now? Could you imagine yourself staying there for years to come?
Um, well, I honestly don't know, Matthew, and I've never worked my career that way. Never, ever, ever. And I'm there right now, and it's lovely and it's fun, and I'm working with some beautiful people, but you just don't know what somebody could write in the next episode. You just don't know. So I never ever rest on my laurels, but I'm very happy playing Bernadine in September of 2025.
And I mean, if you were given the chance to sort of choose her next storyline, what would you love to see her get up to?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I do like all of the stuff with the kids, and I love it, that Brodie's been introduced, and Kit, and it is chaos when we're with those quads. It's just bonkers. So I like all of that stuff when I'm around all of the children. I don't really know. I'd like. Maybe she could get involved with a women's football team or something. She could run a women's football team and get all the girls from the Rovers involved.
Sounds like a good idea.
You reckon?
Now, I just want to say before we kind of wrap things up, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honour
Oh,
speaking to you.
bless you.
But I mean, we're broadcasting to the patients of the Royal Berkshire Hospital here in Reading. First of all, what would you like to say to the amazing NHS staff who work tirelessly? They're amazing, but what would you like to say to them?
Um, that you are all extraordinary, and all of us at some point, and me personally, I've had a lot of help from you guys over the last couple of years. So, yeah, thank you for your vocation, and thank you for your patience and your kindness, and it's much appreciated.
And of course, to any of the patients who are currently stuck in hospital, maybe not having the best of times at the moment, but what would you like to say to them?
Get well very soon. Yeah, big deep breaths, and get well very soon. And yeah, I hope you're feeling well soonest.
And of course, while they're recuperating, keep checking out Coronation Street.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Thank you. Yeah, Coronation Street. Thank you.
As I say, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Jane, for giving up
God
your
bless you.
time. You are welcome back anytime. And of
Oh,
course, keep safe.
okay. Thanks a lot, Matthew. You look after yourself. Keep up the good work.